Please recap the most important. Working the whole day and just started watching. Okay. You got hype armor changes, you got poise changes, and you don't have many, but you have some speed changes. You have power stance damage that has been nerfed too. So overall, a lot of power stance setup have been heavily nerfed. They cannot stun full bull goat anymore. Power stance straight sword can't stun full bull goat. Power stance katana can't stun full bull goat. Power stance curved sword can't stun full bull goat. Fist can't stun full bull goat with the running attack with the R1. Claws, same thing. So a lot of power stance setup basically got sent a few years back. You can still stun on a lot of these setups if you put cragblade on your weapon. Like for instance, you can't power stance straight sword and stun like this someone in heavy armor, but you can't stun them if you have your offhand cragblade or your main hand cragblade. So you're basically, if you're fighting someone who doesn't have heavy armor, nothing changes. But if you're fighting someone that has heavy armor, you're forced to use cragblade. Another significant change is hype armor changes. Like I said, twin blade spin slash has its hype armor removed. No more hype armor on twin blade spin slash. From software categorized it as a bug. Huge deal, big positive. Storm assault. Hype armor doesn't start frame 1 anymore. It's actually much more balanced. You can't just do it out of its stun, so a huge positive. Storm Stomp, same deal. Finally, we got our Storm Stomp nerf that we've been asking for ever since Elden Ring was not even out, ever since the network test. So a huge deal for that, huge positive. Great Axe got buffed. Axes got buffed. Hammers got buffed. Flails got huge buff. Hype armor weapons, a lot of hype armor starts slower, like we asked for, huge positive. Hype armor weapons cannot tank each other's R2s anymore, huge positive. But they can tank each other's R1 half the time. So when I say half the time, literally half the time. So if you trade with someone, R1 on R1 with a great sword, you're gonna tank each other for the first hit, and then if you do it again, you're gonna stun each other for the first R1. Club seems overtuned right now. They increase the speed for all mace or hammer types, but that makes the club like ridiculously fast, and it already has like hype armor, and like it was already a strong weapon, but now with the speed increase, like you're gonna be able to fucking vortex with that thing, and like it's gonna be very hard to approach. So the stone club looks like an outlier. Probably a little bit too strong, at least on paper. We're gonna get to see that. Power stance katanas didn't get much love. Sights have an overall like faster moveset, faster R1s. Sights are overall just better. They're much better actually. So sight got buffed. Two-handed thrusting sword does not stun anymore, even with cragblade on the first R1, of course, against heavy armor. Like I said, we're still waiting for the poise breakpoint, like the exact numbers. That's gonna come with time when people data mine that stuff. Whip doesn't stun anymore for, you know, for two-handed running crouch R1. Fist weapons, same deal as the other power stance stuff. That doesn't stun heavy armor. That doesn't stun heavy armor. That doesn't stun heavy armor, but you can still stun heavy armor with the R2. You can still stun heavy armor if both hits of the running R2 land. You can also still stun heavy armor with a running one-handed R2. And that is the same deal with Qatar. So like Qatar, this doesn't stun heavy armor. If both lands, this will stun. But only if one lands here, this will stun. So like your running one-handed seem to actually be better than your power stance. So technically, like rocking two pairs of Qatar, where you do that into like R2s will always stun, whereas if you attempt to do that, that's not gonna stun, and if you attempt to do that, that's not gonna stun. So if you want to have like a reliable way to use it, you're gonna have like a pair of two and be using like this and this instead. See what I mean? So this is kind of very different from how it was played. And it's the same deal with like other fist weapons, like Star Fist, the R2 stuns. This doesn't stun. This doesn't stun. But somehow this stuns. Again though, if you cragblade your fist weapons, it's the same as before. So you can't like counteract that by just putting cragblade on the weapon. Now you basically have the exact same interaction as you did before. This is going to stun on the second hit. Actually, I didn't test if both R2 stun though with cragblade, but this is going to stun on the second hit. So like a lot of weapons are basically like the same as they were, but they need cragblade in order to do that. Twin blade running R2 still stuns. Another thing of note, every single weapon in the game stuns on like standing R2s, even daggers. So daggers, standing R2s always stun, and that is true for every single weapon in the game. Whether it be daggers, whether it be thrusting sword, fist weapons, every one-handed R2, and obviously two-handed as well, will stun. However, not every running R2 will stun. So like dagger running R2 won't stun. Thrusting sword running R2 won't stun. One-handed, of course. Fist running one-handed R2 will stun. So it's a case-by-case basis there. And then everything above that will stun as well. Heavy thrusting sword one-handed doesn't stun anymore, unfortunately. Running R2 still does stun, but... And two-handed, it also still stuns, but not one-handed. So basically, if you were enjoying playing that weapon with a shield and shield poking, that's not going to stun heavy armor anymore. You're still going to be able to stun non-heavy armor, but you're not going to be able to stun, like, top-of-the-line heavy armor. So, most of the significant changes that came with this patch are related to poise, in my opinion. And hyper armor. Serpent Hunter crouch attack is slower. Another one. They fixed the poise, they fixed the elemental physic glitch that heals you. That's good. I mean, you need to see that. They really sped up axes. Axes are much better. Axes are also an anomaly with one-handed weapons because while they nerf a lot of like one-handed weapons, like one-handed curved sword, that doesn't stun. One-handed straight sword, that doesn't stun. But the one-handed axe does stun. So, like, there's not much of a point to use a one-handed straight sword when the axe is faster and stuns, where the straight sword does less damage, doesn't stun, and is slower. You see what I mean? Like, there's not much of a point to use a straight sword over a hand axe anymore. Flail also got a speed buff. Look at that. Flail, same deal as axes. Always stun, one-handed and two-handed. So I think those are the biggest changes. Again, when we say power stance setup, we also mean like power stance spears don't stun anymore on their first L1 against heavy armor. Like that doesn't stun anymore. All power stance setups have reduced damage now. So also a huge deal. Power stance great lances have the same speed as before, but they do less damage, and it's going to be hard to convey on screen, but the tracking of the attack is basically like Serpent Hunter. So like you can strafe power stance great spears now, basically. So they got nerf, but not nerf as hard as Serpent Hunter. What's a good way to catch light rollers with no spears? A halberd. Like, the patch actually fixed way more things than it broke things. It's just that... So, okay, I think the best way to put this, like, to, like, give an overview of this patch is that this patch fixed more things than it broke things, and it only broke non-meta stuff and fixed meta stuff. You see what I mean? So it fixed meta setups, and it killed non-meta setups. So depending on how you look at it, there's going to be huge positive and huge negatives. Because chances are, some setups that you will enjoy will be worse. While if you are trying to deal with someone that does bullshit to you, guarantee kill you with a twin blade spin slash with bleed, or like just wait for you to do anything and just reaction Storm Stomp or reaction Storm Assault. That's not going to be a thing anymore. So they balanced out the outrageous meta stuff. No one is going to be able to like 3-shot you with double Naginata anymore, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it. No, you're going to be able to retaliate and beat them now. However, if you enjoyed your two-handed whip, if you enjoyed your sword and board, you kind of got the short hand of the stick. That's it. That's the best way to describe it.